Hello, folks. My camera looks a little bit blurry. Anyway, I am finally recovered from my lurgy. Got a little bit of a croaky voice, but I am back and I'm excited to do some videos for you on here. So, what has really been bubbling up for me recently is you may have seen if you're over on Instagram, I've just got back from Iceland, which was incredible. Such a breathtaking, magical place. If you've been, you'll know what I'm talking about. The land is just so grounding and so calming. My mind was like super still when I was out there. And it made me realize I talk a lot about being highly sensitive. Um, and I was revisiting Elaine Aron's work. So she wrote The Highly Sensitive Person, that I highly recommend you read. It is quite psychological, but it is really useful to understand like the traits of it. But I revisited this book, and there's the book that she also wrote is called Like. That's why I got into astrology because it's transformational, right? And what I realized from going away and being living in a camper van, and when I say a camper van, I mean a small van, like go check it out on my Instagram, a tiny little van, like a van you might deliver things in. We slept in this for 7 nights, in little sleeping bags. The temperature did drop to -7 at one point, right? There was a heater, but it's not exactly insulated. And we're out there. We went out for a friend's wedding, and all of the rest of the friends were going, "You are hardcore. How the hell do you do that? Like, you are my hero." And I was like, interesting. Like, a lot of people are saying this. You're crazy. You're bonkers. I didn't batter an eyelid when my partner said, "Let's go and do it in a van." First, it will be cheaper. But second, it will be like an adventure. And I always love an adventure. And I was like, interesting. What is this part of me? Because the highly sensitive part of me wants the comfort, wants, the cozy hotel room, wants the warmth, right? Because I do feel the cold. And this other part of me is like, I love an adventure. I'll never say no to adventure, even though I know it's going to be freaking cold. I'm going to be staying in campsites, like maybe some of the showers and that are going to be basic. There's not going to be a lounge. There can be somewhere I can relax, all of that stuff that you have to deal with, cooking, the little stove, stuff like this that you don't always think about until you're there. But I always say yes to adventures. And before I left, I was looking at this book again, and it was like, there's a quiz in there. Are you a sensation seeker? So basically, which I find fascinating, you may be drawn to my work because you are highly sensitive, so welcome. But there is also this other part. If there's another part of you that is always saying yes to adventures, that loves variety, that gets restless really easily, like I always do. That's why I've had so many jobs in my life. I love like learning new things. If you're like, you love variety, you don't really like routine, you maybe take risks, financial, that could be risks in your business, whatever. If that sounds like you could well be a sensation seeker. And why I find this is such an interesting topic is it's so different to being highly sensitive, right? So just a recap, but you probably know if you're here on this channel, being highly sensitive means that you are highly attuned to your environment. So you may take on people's emotions, you feel things very deeply, and you see the world in a deeper way. And highly sensitive people make up only 20 to 30% of the population. So it's a small percentage. Doesn't mean we're any better. It just means we perceive the world in such a deep way, right? So you might struggle with feeling overwhelmed really easily, like getting overstimulated. For example, for me, that's going to bright lights, like bright supermarkets, or like a loud shopping mall that like just sets me on edge, that type of thing. like going to concerts. I sometimes do that, but generally I don't because it's too loud and overwhelming. So you might see yourself in these areas. There's a lot more traits of it, but essentially it is go watch the other videos on it. But you might also think, well, I'm full of contradictions, Hannah, because I love adventures, as you say. I will do things that don't seem like a highly sensitive person would do. I mean, for me, you may see and think I'm really calm, and I am, but I've also got this really erratic side to me, and it is being a sensation seeker, right? So I come out high on that score, as well as being highly sensitive. Probably if you Google "Are you a sensation seeker?" it's probably going to come up with a quiz. Do let me know if you find that. But I've got it in this book. So it's just interesting because humans are full of contradictions. You might be highly sensitive, but you might also need novelty and variety in your life, and that's okay. So I just wanted to come on and like share this other aspect because it is fascinating. Like you're going to be a really versatile person. And it was a reminder from doing this 7 days in this little van because the friends of my friend that got married were going, "You are hardcore. Like, how the hell do you do that?" But to be honest, I thrive on spontaneity as well. As much as I need to be in my cocoon, I need to retreat from the world. I also need variety, which is in adventures, right? So I will say yes to things that are out my comfort zone, which this completely was. I mean, as you know, Iceland is cold, so sleeping in the back of a van is very basic. But I also like the finer things in life. I also like my comfort. So you think, well, that's very contradictory. So how do I navigate this? Because I've lived in different places in my life. You might not know, I've done a skydive when I was in New Zealand. I lived in America for 3 months doing a thing called Camp America with kids, and they come for like a week or two, and they do activities. And we literally lived in the sticks. I mean, in the forest. It was away from any town or village. It was beautiful, but it was challenging, right? These things test us. And going back to this being a sensation seeker, you can have two parts of you. Like you can be deeply sensitive and also keen for adventures, right? Like I remember being in America, and we would have these outdoor showers. So it's kind of liberating because you're showering, you're in the little cubicle, but you've got fresh air above your head. So you're in touch with the elements, which I think is really liberating because I absolutely love nature. And that's part of what I loved about this trip in Iceland. Although it was challenging at times, I wanted to cry. I also felt a deeper connection with nature, right? Like I woke up at 4:30 to go to the loo, had to trek it over to the toilets on this campsite, which was not fun when it's freezing cold. But I looked up to see the northern lights dancing back at me, which was beautiful. So there's moments like that we will not get from being in a hotel room, right? And I'm not saying I love my luxury as well, but sometimes stepping out of the comfort zone is what we need to grow and learn about ourselves, right? So, this is how do you navigate being highly sensitive and a sensation seeker? That's a tongue twister. So, if you are similar in that way to me, like I've always found it hard because there is part of me that's conflicted. Like, oh, I really need this alone time. I need to hunker down and just meditate and be on my own for a day. And this is the other part of me that's like, but I just seek an adventure. Like, I just need to go out, go somewhere new, see some people. So there's this real polarity between I love people, but I also need my own space. Right. So that's been a challenge. I'm just going to let my cat in because she's scratching at the door and she won't be happy. Bear with me. Oh, come on then. Come on then. Yes. I know. um, so yeah, like what do we do? Like how do we navigate? And it all comes down to knowing and learning about yourself, right? And I still am. And that's why astrology has been so helpful, because if I look at my chart, there is this watery part of me, the Pisces rising, that is like, oh, I just need to be still. I need to be away from everyone else because, quite frankly, being around people can be really overwhelming, and I just need to be in my own space, right? And of course, there is a toxic side to being sensitive if we don't have boundaries in place. Like, I see it as a blessing because I've learned how to manage my energy. But if you haven't, it can feel chaotic and, quite frankly, really overwhelming. Um, so there is always these two parts of me playing out, this sort of related to astrology because that's my language. The Pisces is like, oh, let's be in our own little dream space. Let's imagine, let's be creative, let's meditate and be in the otherworldly, zone. I love being there. But then there's this saggy part of me, and this is what really struck a chord when I found out my astrology years ago, is my moon is in Sagittarius. So no wonder my moon is your emotional self. I deeply seek adventure, I seek spontaneity, I seek going into the unknown, like going somewhere new and having a new experience, meeting new people. That is novelty for me. I love it. And some people might not be like that, like I know people that don't thrive in that environment. So I'm strange. I'm full of polarities, but I think all humans are. And when you find which part is leading, that can be really helpful, because I see that Pisces part of me is like, okay, I just need to be still. I need to come back to me. It's the water that is deeply sensitive, and dream up and be creative and be in my little cave. And there's this fiery part of me that I relate to now as I'm talking, this sensation seeker that's like, fuck yeah, let's go on an adventure. Let's go drive around Iceland and sleep in a van. Even though it's going to be challenging and I'm not in control, I'm out my comfort zone. But at the same time, that's exciting. That's a risk that I'm willing to take. And one night, the heater didn't work. We didn't have any heating because we hadn't driven that day, and it's a battery operated heater. It's fucking freezing. But the rebellious part of me, we decided to park up in the hotel car park where my friend was staying for her wedding. And we used this lovely, like loo in the morning. We popped in, but that excitement of like, oh, what's going to happen? That unpredictability is great for that sensation part of me. And it needs stimulation to feel nourished. And this other sensitive side of me is like, right, that's enough now. We need to be away from people. We need to fill up. We need to recenter and come back. So I'm always like working with these two parts of me. I'm like, which part is leading here? Okay, it's the more sensitive part of me. So it is just an attunement to understand our energy levels. And of course, as women, our energy is different every day. We are cyclical depending on your cycle. I know in my spring summer phase, I'm like, yeah, it's probably more the sensation seeker part of me that's like, yeah, let's go and have an adventure. Whereas when I'm in my luteal menstruation phase, I just want to curl up and be in that cave-like environment, and I need that. And we all need that. So this is just sharing like my thoughts and insights to help you if you think, I am sensitive, but I also love people. Like, I need my own space, but I also love adventures. You may well have both of these. You may be strong, you may be high in sensation seeking as well as the highly sensitive thing. So it is an interesting one. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it if it rings true. Um, I mean, here in this book, I'll just share this. It says, if the priestly advisors are usually highly sensitive, it makes sense that the warrior kings are low in sensitivity, and perhaps also high in a different trait. Yeah, so we need both of them in this world. And I believe, we're not made to fit into a box. So if you are sensitive, but you're like, I'm also really adventurous, could also be neurodivergent trait. Like I have basically diagnosed myself, and I think, and I'm not saying that lightly because I know people are severe, and neurodivergence is a big topic that's coming out, but I would relate that sensation seeking to a more neurodivergent brain as well, because I know people that are sensitive and also love variety and adventure, which I think relates to being creative as well, like quite right brained. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What like resonates? Please share in the comments with me. And there is a link below in the description if you want to dive deeper. I've got a really exciting journey coming up, Persephone's journey, starting November. So do check that out. And thank you so much for watching. And please share this with your friends. And if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to the channel for more juicy wisdom coming your way. Bye for now.